All right, welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. Larry Krueger with you here at Levi's. Let's fire up the band. There we go. Welcome to the Krueg Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Also brought to you by New York style Italian sausage. Love New York style Italian sausage. You can find it in every grocery store throughout Northern California. And we are also brought to you by Marin Auto Glass, marinautoglass.com, 415-883-3030. Not to mention Underdog Fantasy and Mojo Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Use that promo code Krueg, Krueg, and they'll match you up to your first $100. Well, guys, I would say productive day here in Santa Clara. Niners lose 21-20 in a game that didn't mean a whole lot. I joked with Kyle Shanahan at the podium afterwards. I said, did you and McVay have an agreement, a gentleman's agreement? Did you guys talk before the game that somebody would go for two? Were you happy when they went for two? And it's like, he didn't have to say it. I already knew that he was happy they went for two. Obviously, the Niners would prefer to win the game. And instead, the Rams won it 21-20 to finish their year 10-7. Niners finished 12-5. Sam Darnold, it was kind of the tale of two halves. I mean, in the first half, he completed 74% of his passes and looked really good. Second half, with the backups in there, I think he was like 2 of 7. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but it wasn't good. I think he was at half, he was like 14 for. Let's see. Let me double check that. I have the halftime stats in front of me.
A few of those are drop passes by Conley and
yeah, Darnold in the first half went here it is. Darnold in the first half 14 of 19. Yeah, for 168 and a touchdown, a 117.9 rating. He was really good. 74% completion percentage in the first half. And then he finished 16 of 26. So he only completed 2 passes in the second half out of 7. Had some drops, as Danny said, had the fumble late that ultimately ended the game. And, I was really hoping, too, that Darnold would not fumble there, that they wouldn't turn it over, and that Jake Moody would get a chance for redemption. If you missed this game, Jake Moody missed a field goal and he missed a PAT. And when Kyle was asked about it, he's like, hey, we like to see him make them. You know what I mean? In a real simplistic way. He's like, yeah, you'd rather make them than miss them, which is obvious. But then he was asked, hey, what's your level of concern? And he said, he's been good all year. So they're not calling up Robbie Gould. They're not hitting the waiver wire. They're not going to hit the panic button. They're going to ride this thing out with Jake Moody. And hopefully they're not involved in too many close games because he's still a rookie kicker. And I think it's safe to say that we don't know what we're going to get going forward. But Jordan Mason looked good in this game. Elijah Mitchell looked good in this game. Chris Conley had a big near 50-yard reception in this game. Darnold played well. Ray McLeod made a successful return from IR. Brandon Ayuk caught 3 balls for 25 yards. Taylor Hawkins had an interception. I did talk to, the only negatives in the game were the field goal kicker, who missed both a PAT and a field goal. And then Cleve Farrell went down with a knee injury. I talked to him in the locker room afterwards, and he didn't seem overly concerned. It was a non-contact injury, but it sounded like, as soon as there was any kind of a problem, the training staff is like, that's it, come on, you're coming with us, kind of a thing. And I don't know the level of seriousness of that, but I'll say this: he didn't seem overly concerned. I said, what if that had been the Super Bowl? He's like, oh man, they would have had to drag me off if it had been the Super Bowl. Thank you, sir. So I, even though Farrell was the one injury, I don't want to say it wasn't serious definitively, but I'll just say this: I just talked to him. He didn't seem too broken up over it. It didn't sound like, I'm devastated, my year's done or anything like that. So we'll see. We'll see what it is. Maybe it's a sprain of some kind. Maybe it's an MCL. I don't want to speculate, but it doesn't. Let's just say this. I've seen guys after knee injuries when their season's done, And that didn't, it was nothing like my conversation with Klee after the game. I mean, he seemed really, okay with the fact they took him out, and he didn't seem like his season was over, but who knows? He may have to miss a game. We'll have to see. We'll get more definitive news on that within the next 24 hours. And then I had a chance to talk to Robert Beal. Beal had a sack in this game, and man, he is coming on. And one guy's downfall is another guy's opportunity. In this situation, that's exactly what we're talking about, right? Cleve Farrell went out with the injury, and Robert Beal, he stepped in and he looked good. Thought he looked good. I was watching him on the binoculars from the 8th level of the press box here, and he looked good. He got his first sack. I mentioned to him afterwards, I said, hey, man, you got those cool looking Jordans going. You got the Jordan throwbacks. And he's like, yeah, my girl got them for me for my birthday.
How about Banks? I saw him bang his knee up on this touchdown celebration with Mitchell, and he was kind of favoring his knee. It looked like he came out afterwards. Any word on that? Or was it just maybe just a little sore, banging knees and walked it off?
I mean, I saw him in the locker room. He was walking on it, no crutches or anything. But, he wasn't moving too well. But I didn't get a chance to talk to him about it, Danny. But yeah, that's one to look for. He's pretty banged up for sure as the season has played out.
I was surprised he was in there, to be honest with you. I was surprised he was one of the guys that started.
And well, they sat out 9 guys.
Yeah. Then Williams,
they sat out 9 guys. And one of the things that I was talking about last week is that if it was up to me, and it's not, but if it was, I would allow teams like the 49ers that have clinched. If you've clinched and you've got nothing to play for, you should be able in that game that doesn't matter to be able to pull up as many guys as are on your practice squad. Why not? I mean,
they only allow 2, right?
They only allow 2, and so they called up Taylor Hawkins, who had an interception today. And I thought played really, really well. I mean, I have to watch the all 22 and I have to watch the TV copy, but just from being here in the stadium, obviously the interception, he seemed like he was around the ball. I know he gave up some catches, but I thought he played well. And McNichols
had a big PI down.
That was weak.
He also had a nice hit on a tight end was going up for the ball, and Hawkins went in there, made sure to pop him.
What receivers have done on the PI? Offensive receivers have learned to grab onto the DB, and then it looks like they're being held. And then and if you watch that replay, they didn't show it close enough. I have to go back and look at it, but it looks like the receiver made the contact initially with Hawkins, and then I see it all the time. It's a tactic that the receivers, I'm sure, are taught.
We got this one from James T. Kirk. He said, "Hi guys, heading to the boat tomorrow. Must be nice. I got a little dinghy. Well, it's about a 40-footer. He says, do a call-in show, and Moody sucks. So there you go. We're off and running. I knew we were going to get a lot of Moody stuff. Kev, before we talk more about this, let's all go around the room and give us your initial reactions to this one. We'll start with sleepy-eyed Cal Poly down there. What do you, Kev looks like had a late night bender?
No, I'm good.
You all right? You be okay?
I mean, it was a pretty much a nothing game. It's a game.
There wasn't a lot on the line.
There wasn't a lot on the line, exactly. Even for the Rams, you'd think that they'd have a lot on this game, but they really didn't. The only thing they really had to do was get Puka his records, which was kind of funny hearing Kyle Shanahan basically say that they were trying their absolute hardest to stress the Rams out as much as possible to keep Puka in the game for as long as possible.
I saw that.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. But yeah, I mean, the only takeaways from this game basically were the Taylor Hawkins, I thought played well, and then had a little bit of a low lights with allowing a 40-yard penalty and then allowing a 2-point conversion. But he had the interception, and he's been basically just hiding on the practice squad for the last 2 years. So it's good to see him get some play. But yeah, I mean, Moody, it's not good seeing Moody miss an extra point in a field goal right before the playoffs. It's just bad timing. He actually had like a crazy, I think that was the first field goal under 40 yards and extra point he missed all season. Correct. And he missed them back to back.
He hadn't missed since the Minnesota game. That was like week 7.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just bad timing. But I thought Demetrius Flanagan Fowles and Oren Burks played played decently. But yeah, once the starters went out, this game kind of went to shit, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'll tell you where the one moment in this afternoon where I went, yes, we're literally 35 seconds into the game, and the internal PA announcer announces George Kittle and Dre Greenlaw have been ruled out with injuries. And I was like, because I knew that they weren't really injuries. I mean, Kittle's bouncing around, and saw him running around all week at practice. And heck, I saw him bouncing around outside the locker room with some friends after the game. He supposedly has back spasms, and Greenlaw didn't play either. And what was his thing that they said? I forget what his
tendonitis in the Achilles.
Yeah, tendonitis in the Achilles. So it's like
nothing that can be
it's all precautionary.
Nothing that can be verified on it.
Well, I mean, I just loved it because it's like, you know what? Dre Greenlaw, and I tweeted this today. If there's one guy that I wanted to see Shanahan get off the field, it's Dre Greenlaw, because the guy plays like it's Super Bowl Sunday. If it's preseason game number 1, if it's game 1, game 10, game 12, I mean, anytime he puts on the pads and the helmet, it's life and death. You know what I mean? The guy plays with reckless abandon, and it's awesome. But he would have flown around in this game and hurled his body into different Ram defenders. You give the Niners healthy Dre Greenlaw in the playoffs, and I'll take my chances. That's how I feel about it. I don't know how you guys feel about it. Baller, what do you think? You're shaking your head.
Dre Greenlaw's freaking awesome. But as far as this game went, it was a tale of two halves, right? They're up 20-7 at halftime. Sam Darnold was freaking awesome in that first half. That first drive,
looked good.
He was 5 for 5. How about that improvisational play that he hit to Warner? So it was like he was making plays within structure. He was giving you plays outside of structure. But then in the second half, fellas, the first 3 possessions on offense in the second half, Sam Darnold got sacked, every one of them. He got sacked 3 times, all of them in the second half. Drive-killing sacks. I think that's why the offense kind of sputtered there and got shut out in the second half. But this game was about guys getting opportunity. Players that have been working their tails off in practice, day in and day out, finally got an opportunity to show what they got. Guys like Taylor Hawkins, who I thought did play pretty well. He had the pick. Chris Conley was making some plays. My boy Braden Willis, he didn't catch a ball, but actually I tweeted out some clips of him blocking, and that's why I love the draft pick out of Oklahoma. He had some phenomenal blocks. One of them was a swing pass to Ray, held his block so Ray could turn the corner, get upfield. I thought he blocked well because I'm a big Willis fan. When he was on the field, my eyes kind of gravitate to 9. So I thought he played well. Darrell Luter, we saw him get his first extended run. I thought he looked pretty good. He did give up a big play where he's aggressive. I know he had a lot of picks in college, so I think he's an aggressive DB. He tried to bite down on a route, and the big tight end, I think it was Hopkins, got loose for a huge chunk play. So that one's on Luter. But other than that, I thought he played well. We saw Womack. And then you mentioned Beal Jr. With this injury, fellas, to Cleveland Farrell, another DN's going to have to get some reps. Obviously, there's Nick Bosa. Chase Young, I thought, was awesome today. I thought he was harassing his former teammate.
Didn't he get the big hit? Didn't he get a big hit on Wentz?
He did. Yeah, he was around Wentz all game, and he did get.
Who was it that got the hit, guys?
Chase Young.
It was Chase Young on the PI call that went against the Niners. I mean, Wentz looked like he was not going to get up.
Yeah, it was. And Beal Jr. is going to have to get some reps with Farrell going down, unless the only other guy I was looking at the practice squad is Alex Barrett. I think he's going to stay there. I think Beal would elevate. Obviously, Randy Gregory played a lot. Chase Young played a lot today. And Beal Jr., I did have the thought of, would you think about calling Jordan Willis? Do they need a D end?
I saw that. You mentioned that this week. I think that's a great idea.
It sounds like this is, and hopefully it is minor with Cleveland Farrell, but
he's not on anybody's practice squad, Baller.
What was that?
He's not on anybody's practice squad.
I looked at a free agent list and he was on there. So
okay. Wow.
I'm hopefully that list was accurate. But this game was about guys getting opportunity, and a lot of these guys who got their first reps, I thought, played well today.
Danny, what'd you think?
This game reminded me of the final preseason game before the regular season starts. Both teams had nothing really to play for other than getting guys reps, like Baller said. No coincidence that Sam Darnold looked good first drive with most of the first unit, offensive line, receivers. Kittle was out. Second half, backup linemen, backup receivers. To me, it was just, it was like you said, did McVay and Kyle have an agreement beforehand going for two? I think it was more like, hey, let's play, but let's make sure we don't get anybody hurt. It's like, this was not, you're watching it because it's a regular season game and it's on it's on TV. It's a regular Sunday game, but emotionally, as I'm sitting there watching the game, I'm just like, I hope they win, but hey, if they don't, just don't get anybody hurt. Who cares?
It's football without intensity. Football without intensity is like, what's that? It's like, it's one of these, like, you don't want to get guys hurt. It's football. It was a weird game. Come on. The setup is weird. Week 18, you're going to the playoffs. You're the number one seed. You don't want to get anybody hurt. Not
People
only
are playing for records,
you're playing. You got Puka trying to get records. I love the Niners doubling him at the end of the first half. It was just like, hell no. Funny. You want to shut it down at halftime and take off your pads. No. You're going to have to play the second half and get this record.
You see McVay, after he read his lips on the screen, he said, get him out of there. Get him out of there.
That's awesome. Yeah, so there was, so you had a couple individual things on the line. But then the other thing that made this also kind of complicated, it would have been different if the Rams had missed the playoffs, but the Rams found a way in their rebuilding year to make their way to the playoffs. And in my opinion, they're a team that the Niners are going to see again.
Good chance they face them in 2 weeks.
Whoa.
I think they're going to beat. Who are they going to get?
They get Detroit. They're the 6th
Matt
seed.
Stafford's going back home.
Yep.
I love the Rams. The Rams loose.
And Laporta may be out for Detroit.
And Cup and all these guys. I mean, you got to remember this. The Rams sat about, the Rams only have about 12 guys on their team that are really good. And they sat like 9 of them.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't, to me, it was shocking. No Stafford, no Donald, no Higbee, no Notaboom, no Ernest Jones, no Kyron Williams, no Cooper Kupp. So they sat their best quarterback, their number one running back, their number one receiver, their best linebacker, their best D lineman. You know what I'm saying? And it's not a loaded team. So,
it was Detroit lost Laporta maybe today.
Oh, I saw that. I didn't see
the Rams. Ronnie Rivers looks better than Elijah Mitchell. That's what I got from today.
You thought so?
Elijah Mitchell was pretty disappointing today.
He had one really nice run where he trucked a couple guys, but I thought J.P. Mason looked more explosive with the ball today.
J.P. Mason had a nice run.
Why can't J.P. Mason get more touches? I mean, he went for 6 yards a carry today, and it's just like he always goes for 6 yards a carry.
Yeah. You've been saying it all year. When he gets the rock, man, he runs hard. He's decisive.
Caught the ball. Not only that, he caught the ball and made somebody miss. Did you see that one where he caught the ball and let the defender go by?
I thought the surprise of the day was Carson Wentz rushing 17 times. Like, where did that come from?
Carson Wentz may stink, but he's undefeated against the Niners. I think he's now 4-0 against the Niners.
Like I was at that game when he was in Indy and it was just pouring rain. I was sitting there. No wonder.
Torrential, what do they call that? A
called me up.
torrential river, or what was that? Well,
Atmospheric river.
atmospheric river.
Yeah.
that
No
that
wonder
was
my cousin
wild.
called me. He's like, "Hey, you want to go to the game today?" And I was like, I knew it was coming. There was a reason. He shout out to Matt though. Thanks, cousin Matt.
Yeah, and I see a comment in there. We can't beat Wentz. Does Carson Wentz play his best games against the Niners? He did it a couple years ago with Indy when they came to.
Yeah, he's played well against them. He takes care of the football. I mean, he makes some really, really bad decisions against other teams, but against the Niners, it seems like he's got this clairvoyance or something. He's just very clear-headed. He's very decisive.
He looks like the year he almost won the MVP before he messed up his knee.
What a weird career he's had, huh? I mean, he's a top. Well, he wasn't the second pick in the draft. Goff went 1. He went 2. Then did he win the MVP or get close?
No,
to
he got close, but then he tore his knee up.
So he gets close to winning the MVP, and now he's been on how many teams? 5 teams?
Quite a few.
I mean, shocking, really shocking. I don't know. This is a hard game to get all exercised about. You should have seen Kyle at the presser. He just seemed very kind of like,
yeah, like a preseason game.
Yeah, well, I mean, did some good things. Would have rather have won. But other than that, God, look at M. Patel. By the way, Gary Strain, Cleveland Farrell could be done. He didn't seem like that in the locker room. I mean, maybe he's done, but I'll say this: he made it sound like if this had been a playoff game, he would have still been in the game.
Was it maybe an MCL sprain, like maybe a grade 1 or something like that? Or
I hate to speculate because there's who knows, but I mean, literally, I'm talking to him at his locker, and he started describing the play, and he's like, I said, well, if that had been the Super Bowl, would you have stayed in? He's like, oh hell yeah, they would have to drag me off. So
Kyle did say that he could potentially miss a game.
Yeah, I mean, he misses a game. But look at M. Patel here. He's like, the 49ers are Carson's bitch. Oh, great. Nice. Beautiful imagery there.
So, Larry, the Niners could face one of 4 teams. They could face the Bucs, the Eagles, the Rams, or the Packers.
AJ Brown. Did AJ Brown tear his ACL today?
I don't think he tore it. Did he? No word.
He did it.
I saw that one. It looked bad. You guys didn't see that?
I did see it. I haven't heard.
Rappaport confirmed it wasn't, and nothing was torn.
Wow.
So,
you're asking me who I'd like to play between Tampa, Eagles, who else?
Rams or Packers.
I'd like to play Tampa. That's who I want. I'd like to play Tampa. What do you guys think? Rams are a division team. The division teams know you great. So I don't know if I like the idea of the Rams. I'm not wouldn't be afraid of the Rams, but I don't know if I'd want to. If I have my druthers, I don't know if I'd pick the Rams.
I think that would be probably 1, and then Packers 2, Eagles 3, Rams 4. But I don't fear any of those teams coming off of a bye, and sometimes when you lose a game like this, and I know guys didn't play, but it still leaves a sour. You don't want to end your season. Sometimes if you get a win and you just go in and I don't know. It probably means nothing whether they won or lost because these guys are going to be up for a playoff game. They've been playing for that all year long. So
who would you guys want to play? Or who would you not? Is there a team that you wouldn't see? I have too much respect for the Eagles. Now, the Eagles look horrible.
Yeah.
Did they get run today by the Giants?
The Giants,
They did.
In a game where if they won, they win their division. If they won that game, they win their division, and they lost.
Yeah, they look bad. Jordan Davis is out of shape, and they don't look good on defense.
Tampa could beat them. Tampa could beat them.
Did you see? Was it Hurts that had one of the fingers on his throwing hand?
Yeah,
was
he got taken out early.
In a
he
bad,
came back.
But I mean,
He
it
came
was
back.
bent.
Oh, did he?
badly.
Okay.
Yeah, he came back.
So I mean, he's not 100% anywhere close to 100%. but I still have too much respect for their offensive line and just, they are the defending NFC champions. I don't know. Where do you guys, how do you guys make sense of it?
On the list of teams that I would want to play, first I got Tampa, bring it on. They were really the only team I fear in the slightest bit. And I don't even really fear them, but it's the team we saw today in the Rams. But give me Tampa first, and then I'll go Packers. But really, I'm not fearing the Eagles really at all. Like any one of those three, Tampa, Eagles, Packers, Niners are moving on. Rams have a chance. They got, in boxing terms, they got a puncher's chance. So that's how I would rank it.
I think you want Detroit to win against the Rams.
So I don't know. Detroit's got a really good line.
Eagles
and Amon-Ra is a number one receiver he's got a chip on his shoulder because he missed out on the Pro Bowl. They got two good running backs. What's the injury to Laporta? How much time do you think he misses?
It's going to be probably a game time decision. Sounds like
it's a knee sprain, maybe.
It's either a hyperextension, maybe. They feared something much worse, but
they said it looked bad. I never saw it,
but they said it wasn't as bad as they feared. So who knows?
This is suffered a hyperextended knee and a bone bruise. Source said after MRI, likely to miss some time, but as Coach Dan Campbell said, not as bad as it could have been. That's according to Rappaport.
Scott Schendel with a play on words here. Jake makes me moody.
Can I jump in on Moody?
Yeah, please
do. Because Moody hasn't missed a ton of kicks, but fellas, he hasn't made a ton of kicks either. I researched this after the game. He's only made 21 kicks this entire season. That's 27th in the NFL. Only 2 kicks over 50 yards. So what I'm saying is, like, he hasn't missed a ton of kicks, but he hasn't made a ton of kicks either. And I am a bit nervous. I'm curious to hear, how you guys are feeling about Moody being the guy. I heard Kyle in the presser saying, no, he's our guy.
If Jimmy were still the quarterback, they'd have a real problem. Because with Jimmy, they weren't very good in the red zone, and they had to lean on the kicker over and over and over again. With Brock, he scores touchdowns in the red zone.
Yes.
So this guy's just kicking extra points, right, for the most part.
Yeah.
I am nervous about it. He's got a strong leg, but it's like we've seen him hit the crossbar. We've seen him push him to the right. We've seen him hook it to the left. Even a couple of his makes have looked bad.
Barely in. They're barely inside the post, some of them. That's the part that gets you a little nervous. I mean, he set an NFL record for 60 consecutive PATs. So it's funny because they were talking about it today, and then he goes and misses one. I don't fear too much, but
what would you do though?
Like
you're going to kill the guy's confidence and call up Robbie Gould. Now Robbie Gould is on nobody's team. So
I think what happens is if they get by the division round and Robbie Gould misses a field goal in the game, they will bring in, and they win. They will bring in Robbie Gould to practice during that NFC championship game. I think Moody's going into this next game. He can't miss other Niners. I can't see him carrying.
I mean, that I badly wanted for that reason, Danny. I badly wanted to see Darnold, throw a couple more first down passes.
Yeah, they only needed 15 yards for a.
I wanted to see that kid put in the pressure moment of could he save himself after a missed PAT and a missed short field goal. I mean, that was a short field goal. What was it? 28, something like that.
39.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, NFL kickers these days, the best guys in the league make them consistently from 55 and in.
How about that guy from Dallas? He didn't miss all season.
Brandon Aubrey, guys, is he
soccer player?
Is he even a human? It seems like he's a machine.
I think he missed one PAT, right? Didn't he miss a PAT? I'm not sure, but I know he didn't miss a stinking field goal. I don't know how you do that.
All I'd say is being a kicker in the NFL, even though it seems like the easiest job, must be the stressful job, like the most stressful job at sometimes. Because Brett Maher was having like a decent season for the Cowboys last year until the NFC Championship game where he just couldn't make a field goal, and then the next week he's gone. You know?
Oh, the NFC division round. He missed like 5. Round, yeah. He missed like 4 extra points and like field goal. He couldn't make anything.
And then they cut him, and then he's gone.
Yeah,
I know, and it's a weird situation. And then you'll see sometimes veteran kickers that have been really good for like a number of years, but like in their first couple years in the league, they were on 3 different teams. So it's like there's always this like this period where you have to kind of adapt. But I mean, this is a Super Bowl win or bust kind of a season, and it's an awful big ask to ask a rookie kicker to step into this situation. I mean, the Niners won the Super Bowl with Doug Bryan as a rookie kicker, but guess how they did it? They did it by beating everybody by 4 touchdowns, and they didn't anybody could have been the kicker, and it would have been fine. There were no pressure kicks. That offense was so cooking. All right, we're 31 minutes into our live stream. We've over 500 people in the room. Kev, tell us, this is the first time ever we are streaming not just to YouTube, but wait, there's more.
Instagram. It's on Instagram.
We're on Instagram right now.
There's 10 people in the room right now on Instagram.
We're kicking it on the IG. So if you're watching us on Instagram and you want to come over to YouTube, please do. We're also on, what else are we on tonight?
We're not on TikTok right now. We're not on TikTok.
We're not on TikTok.
We have a TikTok, but we're not live streaming on TikTok.
How about ABC or CNN live? We on?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Not yet. So Kev, you're usually more level-headed. I'm more emotional. Danny's more emotional. Baller's a little bit more realistic. But Kyle Shanahan was asked about Jake Moody in the postgame. He said, you know what? He's been solid all year. Yeah. But Baller brings it up. Has he really been solid all year, or they've just not leaned on him at all year?
27th in the NFL in made field goals, the Niners are.
27th. I'm writing that down. That's
and he's missed 1, right? How many
only
field goals
21 made field goals. 2. That's just over 1 made field goal a game.
I think he's missed 3, hasn't he?
3 or 4? He's only missed 1 inside of 40.
But he's missed like 3 or 4 total all year.
Right. So the Niners are 27th in the NFL in made field goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have
on the year. Jake Moody's 21 of 24. He's 2 from 3 from 50 plus, 4 from 6 from 40 to 49, 8 of 8 from 30 to 39.
Now 8 of 9.
Now 8 of 9, and then 7 of 7 from 20 to 29.
It's not bad. I mean, it's not really his fault that they haven't been able to use him. They either have punched it in, or
Shanahan's been more aggressive too this year, going for it on 4th down.
Correct.
And Heck Dell here says, oh, wait a second. He's already cost them 2 games.
I mean, yeah, you can blame the Browns game on him if you want, I guess.
Or no, Stewart here. Stuart B says Moody has cost the Niners 2 games.
He's not wrong.
You count today, he cost them 4 points.
Cost them 4 points, and they lose by 1.
I don't know.
What are the chances that the Niners are going to boat race every single team in the playoffs, and they're not going to need a kicker? I mean, you're going to need a kicker. You're going to have a kicker make big kicks. The question is, they did invest a 3rd-round draft choice. I mean, the Niners have swung and missed so many freaking times with 3rd-round draft choices in recent years that it makes you wonder if they should just bypass the 3rd round altogether. But I mean,
trade all their 3rd
they
round.
Invested a 3rd round pick in this guy. Do you just go away from that investment? And you're not going to cut him, right? I mean, if anything, you would just deactivate him.
Dude, the decision is final. They drafted the kid. They're not going to go away from him now. And I feel like that's why Kyle answered the way he did. He's not going to give like an ounce of hesitation in his answer. He's being very firm. He's like, Jake's our guy. I'm confident. But obviously, the Niners, like, it's going to be a PR nightmare if they lose the Super Bowl because they can't kick a 30-yard field goal at the end of the game. I mean, that's the decision that they made this offseason when they decided to draft a 3rd-round kicker. But, yeah, I don't know.
Scott Rayleigh says, bring in Robbie Gold, pay the man. It's not even about paying anybody. You could easily afford Robbie Gold. It's about if you bring in Robbie Gold in any capacity, that kid's confidence is shot. So here's the thing. If I were the Niners, I think what I would do, and this sounds very covert and sneaky, but I'd go work out Robbie Gold and see if he could, see what he looks like. Because he is an old guy. This would have been his 19th year in the league. And he did get a tryout with Graham Gano and a few other veteran kickers from the Giants, I believe, in early November, and they didn't sign him. So
I don't like the idea of a lot of kickers that are old, 40 plus, and haven't kicked. I mean, look at Mason Crosby this year. He came in with the Giants, and
that's what I'm saying, Danny. It's like if you go to Robbie Gold, man, he better work out because you're there. You can't. It's not like if you go to Gold and then go back to this kid. I mean, that's just a nightmare.
Yeah, I can see the Niners boat racing in the NFC. I don't know about the Super Bowl, but I can see them. A lot of times in the past, at least the '80s Niners teams, they used to that division round. They beat teams by 3-4 scores because that division they played the week earlier and the Niners had the bye and just totally just ran them off the field. It could go either way when you're with that. You usually don't win a tight one if you've had the bye. You usually win pretty good or you get upset because the other team's on a roll because they've won that first game and they got momentum. But generally speaking, I can't see the Niners being in that close of a game, the first game. The only way it might be really close is if it's the Rams. I think anybody else, they beat by 2 scores.
I was just looking at the NFL playoff picture for the NFC, and the way it's looking to shake out right now would be, or I think it's confirmed, Eagles-Bucks will be the 4-5.
Yes, that is confirmed, yeah.
And then it's looking Lions-Rams for the 3-6, and then Cowboys-Packers for the 7-2.
Yeah, it's all been announced. They haven't announced
say that again. It's Cowboys-Packers 7-2.
Lions-Rams 3-6. And then Bucks-Eagles 4-5.
What do you think? Are the Eagles going to be able to upset or the Bucks going to be able to upset the Eagles?
Wouldn't surprise me. Possibility.
I think so.
Although Baker came up limping, I think he'll be fine. But he got dinged up today.
His ribs are sore too.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles got lucky, honestly. Not lucky, but it worked out nice for them. For a team that's 1-5 in their last 6 games, they get to play the Buccaneers.
Right.
And the Buccaneers have a higher seed than them. I mean, it works out nice if you're an Eagles fan. So yeah, I would still fear the Eagles.
Which of those lower seeds do you think has the best chance to win?
I think the Rams.
I'd say the Eagles, even though they've been looking bad.
I like the Rams. I like the Rams. I think, we didn't even – I mean, think about it this way. The Rams beat the Niners today. Now, granted, neither team was 100%, but the Rams guys that they sat out are really rolling. I mean, the Rams, what are the Rams since the bye? Haven't they won like 6 of 7?
They were 3-6 and finished 10-7.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say this for the Rams. In their rebuilding year, when they're trying to clean up their cap and just rebuild, they're going to the playoffs.
They've won 4 in a row.
Yeah. So who got dumped out? Seattle's out?
Yeah.
Seattle and the
Vikings
and the Saints and the Saints.
And the Saints.
Did you see the end of the Saints Falcons game and Arthur Smith and Dennis Allen at midfield? Did you guys hear about that?
No.
Oh my goodness. I thought Arthur Smith was going to just, he probably realized his job's sealed, but he looked like he probably wanted to beat the crap out of Dennis. It was 41-17. And the Saints lined up in victory formation at the 1 yard line with like a minute to go, and then they ran it in and made it 48-17. And Arthur Smith, he got at you could hear him at the coaches meeting at midfield, and he yelled at Allen. He said, "What the F was that all about?" And Allen goes, I understand. It's crazy.
There's a lot of talk out of Atlanta that Arthur Blank, the owner of the Falcons, still hasn't made up his mind on whether or not he's going to fire Arthur Smith tomorrow.
How do you not fire that guy?
Tomorrow is going to be a wild day around the NFL for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Just from the rumors that I was reading today, Belichick's probably out in New England. It sounds like Carolina is going to be done with Scott Fitterer in addition. I mean, it's amazing. I watched the draft, and Louis Riddick did this soliloquy on how Bryce Young was just, he was just this absolute, in this perfect spot because there was this organization is so solid and there's all these people. I mean, if you go back and watch that, you'd laugh now. It's like, oh, he's in such an ideal spot with this GM and this quarterback coach and this head coach and Frank Reich and no organization. I mean, literally, Louis Riddick did like a 1-minute thing on the draft about how Carolina was just this picture perfect opportunity for Bryce Young. Here we are, one season in. Bryce doesn't look all that great. CJ Stroud looks awesome. Reich's been fired. Fitterer's going to be fired. I mean, it's like, what? Is this even the same organization that he was talking about? So it just kind of shows in the NFL, there's just, you think you got it right. You think you got it right. You think you got it right. And then all of a sudden you look up and you got everything wrong.
A big day for D'Amico today.
Yeah.
Last
night.
Is the D'Amico
lost and they won the division, so they get a home game now against Cleveland.
Is the D'Amico like Robert Saleh thing just a great illustration of how you get compared, like, or how you're ranked based on how good your quarterback is? Does that make sense? Like, everything's going right for D'Amico because his quarterback's great, and everything's going wrong for the Jets because Zach Wilson sucks. It's like that pick is such a huge thing for your coaching trajectory.
You got to have a quarterback, man. You absolutely got to have a quarterback.
They're defensive coaches, so you'd think it wouldn't matter to them, but no.
And Stroud made some amazing throws in that game yesterday. Oh, my God. And you guys saw Minshew. How about that? Indianapolis, and everybody's going to blame that running back and blame Minshew and everything. But it's like, hey, Indianapolis, Jonathan Taylor should be ashamed of himself. I don't know if you watched the final sequence there, but it was weird. It was like Indy was playing for fourth down on second down. Jonathan Taylor is a 2,000-yard back who weighs 220 pounds. On second down, he ran out of bounds without being touched. Dude, where's the toughness? Bury your shoulder, head up field, get the first down. Play with some urgency. He was totally willing to like pass it off to third down. Then they called some dive play on third down. It was almost like they're like, oh, well, we'll just get it on fourth down. And then they take Jonathan Taylor off the football field and throw it to a guy that has 6 receptions on the year, and he gagged it. But it was a bad throw by Minshew, the wrong side. And it kind of goes to show you that, like we watch Brock Purdy make that throw over and over and over, and he puts it right on the hands in the right spot at the right tempo at the right time. And it's like he makes it look easy. The short game, when you got a quarterback like Brock Purdy, looks like handoffs. But then you watch some of these other teams, and it's like it's far from a fait accompli that you're going to get that done. So, yeah, that was really weird. But I'll tell you, there's, you look around football right now, they're saying that teams want Jim Harbaugh. The Chargers may make a run. They're saying the Raiders may make a run. David Pepper supposedly wants the Lions OC. Ben Johnson to be their head coach. Supposedly Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel are feuding in Tennessee. And Vrabel could be out. The Commanders are going to dump if they haven't already, but it's everybody knows that Ron Rivera's out. They're looking for a new GM. They're talking to Belichick. there's just so many interesting things. They're saying the Cowboys, if Jerry Jones's Cowboys don't go deep into the playoffs, that the Cowboys may fire Mike McCarthy.
That's where Harbaugh would be best suited. I don't know if he
Well,
could coexist with Jerry Jones, though.
He could definitely. Well, how about the other one that's really shocking? I thought was that Sean Payton, who's been a tire fire, basically breaks NFL rules by how he benches Russell Wilson, and now they're saying that Denver's owners are giving Sean Payton the thumbs up if he wants to fire the GM George Payton, and it's up to him. So he's got total control. It's just a bizarre. It's a bizarre time. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you guys. There was a big report on Bleacher Report this morning that this may be the off season again, another off season where there's lots of big name wide receivers dealt, and they were speculating that Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, and they said Brandon Ayuk all could be traded this off season, in addition to other guys like Kamara and Justin Fields and Khalil Mack. But they're saying maybe Ayuk to Jacksonville for a first and a third. I got to think if the 49ers, Ayuk is one of the most efficient receivers in the game right now. They have an awful lot of weapons, but that guy blocks, he catches. I mean, he does all the dirty work. I can't imagine the Niners are trading him.
I wouldn't.
No chance. No chance.
And he has so much rapport with Purdy now. It's like you're shooting yourself in the foot if you did that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. To trade him for what? To get
like Tennessee getting rid of AJ Brown.
You get.
I mean, the whole thing would be
another Ayuk.
Well, I mean, okay, so it makes no sense, but what if you could get some team that picked in the top 10 to give you a pick, and you could turn Ayuk into Malik Neighbors and do and basically have a much better cap situation?
It's a risk.
It sounds like you're trying to recreate the DeForest Buckner, Javon Kinlaw scenario. No, when you draft
AJ Brown, Traylon Burks, same thing.
Yeah, what Danny was
you
saying.
got to hold on to those guys. Brandon Ayuk is our guy. He's been freaking awesome all season long. Debo's been really good, but Ayuk is the guy who wins down the field. He needs to stay here.
Yeah, it's not like Ayuk's 30 plus either. He's like,
and he's from Rockland.
Yeah. I
think I'd stay with Ayuk too, but
yeah, you're gonna have to move off someone probably eventually. You're right, because they can't pay everyone.
Going to be on the last year of his deal next year.
But nobody's giving you a number one for Armstead.
No, but I'm just saying that money's going to clear up.
Who would bring you more?
Guys are coming off the books.
Who would? I mean, I know everybody freaks out whenever you mention a star player, but like you said, you got to move off somebody.
It's always these receivers who get moved, though. Have you noticed that? Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams.
I'm a guy that I take a lot of flack for these type of things, but I like to sell guys at their peak because
you just like to make trades, Danny. Let's be honest. Anybody who plays fantasy football with Danny's that guy who makes like 7,000 trades.
What could you get for a CMC coming off this year?
Oh God!
I mean,
think you got to keep him.
Well, I think you do too, but it's either him or Debo, and who's going to be more? If you're going to re-sign Ayuk, you're going to come into a cap situation when you got to sign Purdy. Somebody's going to have to go.
Make it work, Dan. Nowadays, you're pushing money down the road. Like there's ways to make it.
Maybe I don't know.
You're also saving $50 million.
Hopefully, Purdy is a lot like Brady, and he doesn't realizes to have a successful team, you can't pull an Aaron Rodgers.
Jimmy says you're going to pay two wide receivers $20 million a year. You're going to play two wide receivers $20 million $20 million a year on a run-first football team.
Yeah, Debo's deal is only like 3 years. It wasn't like he signed a 5-year extension.
I think he signed longer, didn't he?
I believe it's 3 years.
I mean, if you look at, I see Brandon Ayuk having a longer career than Debo, just in the way that they play the game. Right. Yeah. That's like a sad running back truth thing, where it's like Brandon Ayuk's going to have a long career of being good. Debo might have a year where he's out for the entire year because he, gets banged up because he just the nature of how he plays. So, in terms of value, I would keep Ayuk over Debo.
How long though? You think about running backs. Their kind of career life. I mean, Derrick Henry's 8 years now, and it's probably his last game in Tennessee. Pretty much
Trade Dan.
Yeah,
Somebody said
I
trade Dan.
saw that. Yeah, trade Dan. People don't realize
nobody's giving you a number one for Dan.
Yeah, CMC I love, but at some point he's going to regress, and it's probably within the next year or two, because you can't. What has he been in the league? 6-7 years?
Yeah. I mean,
they
just
don't last that long.
I know, but I mean, what are you going to get rid of a guy who's the MVP of the league? Maybe.
I know but I'm just saying, if I wouldn't want to get rid of any of them.
What's CMC's deal? How many years does he have left?
He's got a year or two left, and he's not as bad. He's
like
not as high. He's about 12 million, isn't he? He's only about 12 million.
He got an extension in Carolina.
The bottom line is the Niners are going to have to draft better. They're going to have to hit in the draft. They're not going to be it's up to this point. They've made some bad decisions, right? They traded all those picks for Trey Lance. They missed on Trey Sermon. They missed on Joe Williams. They missed on Ahkello Witherspoon. They missed on Reuben Foster. They missed on Solomon Thomas. I mean, they're going to have to hit consistently in their picks in rounds 1, 2, and 3. And they're going to have to continue to make, smart decisions in free agency and hit on day 3 of the draft. Let's hit some supers here. We've got Andy says Jake.
Hey, Dad, I gotta bounce, so I'm gonna leave. I gotta go do something. But
why? Where are you going?
I have a dinner that I'm doing with my buddy's birthday, so I gotta go.
Really?
Yeah, 6:15. I gotta go.
Nobody ever told us.
I texted you, but I don't think you saw.
We didn't get
2 weeks.
Are you giving him permission to do this, Dad?
First of all, that bed's not made. Have you done your homework?
The bed not being made is just part of the deal now. I just gotta.
You talk to Mom. I mean, did Mom okay this?
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Oh, look at that! Look at that! I'm just gonna I'm gonna do as I damn well please. That's the kids of today. He wasn't adding anything anyway. Good riddance. No, I'm just joking.
System kid.
System son. Andy 707 says Jake Moody scares me a lot. Okay, I hear you on that one. Ricky Williams says injuries are injuries and they suck, but today would have been perfect for Danny Gray, especially with Sam at this point. Do we move on from Danny Gray? I mean,
why didn't we get to see Danny at all today?
I don't understand. Was he another 3rd round pick?
Well, isn't he on the IR?
Yeah, they haven't taken him off. He's in his window.
Reopened his window. I don't know.
They opened his practice window, but they have to.
Well, they're probably not if they didn't bring him back today, they're probably not going to test him out in the playoffs.
No, they're not.
No, I'll say this. I mean, he can run like the wind, but he definitely doesn't. He's not. I don't know if he's broken through at practice. That's the thing. I mean, I'm not getting a chance to see practice on a regular basis, but that would be what I would wonder about. Roberto Davis says since Willis took over since Wilkes took over, the D-line isn't as intense. Why? Well, he has nothing to do with the D-line, really. I mean, it's the Chris Kaceric's baby. I think that what you've seen is that when the Niners in the second half of the year have taken on a lot of quarterbacks that have mobility, they seem like they're playing fewer games up front. They're kind of squeezing down the pocket as opposed to loops and twists and stunts, and you know what I mean? Because they didn't want to give Kyler an avenue. They didn't want to give Hurts a running lane. That's what I'm seeing. I mean, to me, it just seems like they're rushing as one means that you're not going to play as many games up front, and that everybody kind of stays in their lane and kind of shrinks the pocket. That's what I'm seeing. We got this one from Red and Gold. Al, he says, I agree. I see why they signed Jason Verrett. Womack was beaten routinely today. Man, one of those that he got beat on, he just got beat by an eyelash. What did you guys think of Womack today? I'll say this about the Niners. If you say, what are the keys for them to win the bowl? Purdy's got to not turn it over. The O-line's got to be decent. One of the major deals, in my opinion, is that Greenlaw and Armstead have to be healthy. And then if you said, give me something that maybe people aren't talking about, the Niners now, because of Verrett, physically breaking down, they have 5 young DBs, right? Demo Lenore, Ambry Thomas, Womack, Luter, and Jair Brown. All 5 of those rookie or second year, those young DBs have got to play, and they got to play with poise.
Wasn't this
because
the
there's
third
no
year for Lenore and Thomas?
The cavalry's not coming.
This year 3 for Lenore and Thomas, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. But I mean, Lenore is really holding up his end of the bargain. He's playing at a really high level. But what do you guys think of Womack today? Because you guys watched it on the tube. I mean, I saw him get burned a couple times, but like when I say burned, he gave up catches, but he was right there.
They just couldn't stop them on third down in the second half.
I didn't see anything egregious from Womack. I thought he was solid. And again, Luter I thought was pretty good, other than a big reception he gave up to the tight end down the sideline where he jumped up on a route in front of him.
Jesse Wade said, okay, fellas, mark my words. We will run the table. We will win the Super Bowl. We are the best team in the NFL. We will be healthy, rested, and hungry. Quest for 6. All right. I like that. Being positive. Do you guys, how do you guys feel about it?
I feel really good about the defense on pretty much 2 weeks rest. We saw a different defense after the bye for a few games. Niners really only have to play, give it their all in the NFC, and then they get another week off. So I think they're really in good shape because this defense has been touted as one of the top 3 defenses in all of the NFL all year long. We saw at the start of the season, hit a lull in the middle of the 3-game losing streak, came back strong after the bye, and last few games they've been ran on. You could see they're tired and down. End of a long, 17 games. Now you get all your regular guys that rested today, and then the rest of the team, they get a ton of rest. You go into a home game jacked up. You're talking about a Dre Greenlaw flying around. I mean, with Dre Greenlaw healthy, the defense is completely different. It's more physical. And when the 49ers play physical, they beat teams up on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, to me, I was doing cartwheels when I saw that he was sitting Greenlaw because, I even said it on the pregame show. I tweeted it this morning. It's like, man, I said, if there's one player that I would want to protect today from himself, it's Dre Greenlaw, because he just doesn't know a secondary speed. You know what I mean? He plays every game like it's his last game on the planet. And it's one of the things that makes the guy really special, but it's also why you got to get him off the field. And I was hoping that they would have, used some of the younger guys a little bit throughout the season to kind of spot him. But no, even though Greenlaw has piled up some nagging injuries, he's been out there every single week. And you saw that. I don't know if you saw him live mic'd last week against the Commanders on those post, Niners shows that they do in the huddle and the other one. I mean, he brings it, but I mean, this guy gets involved in a ton of collisions. And to me, not playing him today was the smartest move of the day.
Absolutely.
If he had played, I would have been sitting there crossing my fingers. And Shanahan admitted in the postgame at the podium that he was worried the entire game about injuries. So I think that's probably what happened with Farrell, is that, Farrell had an early knee injury and they just said, get him off the field. I mean, they wanted to be really smart about injuries today. I'll tell you the other thing that made today kind of weird. It's like, okay, so I think Trent Williams played, was it 2 series and then he came out? Something like that. But it was a weird game from that standpoint too. Is like you had long drives and you wanted to the game to end fast. I mean, Shanahan literally said that. He's like, I'm rooting for a fast game. It's like, what?
Well, there was one point, Larry, I don't know if you saw it from the press box, but on TV, there was a play that was on the first drive, might have been the second drive, but I think it was the first. They ran up the middle and somebody rolled up under Trent and he went down.
I didn't see that.
The play was basically over. It looked like one of his own teammates. He got rolled up and I was like, oh crap. That's the kind of thing you don't want to see. And it wasn't much longer after that. He was out.
Yeah. Clement Gray says, stay healthy and don't beat ourselves. We win the Super Bowl. I will say this. I haven't felt this good about a Niner team going to the playoffs in a long time. Like, I look at the Rams, and there's a great article, by the way. I don't know if you guys caught this, but Bill Barnwell went through, and I don't know if you guys follow Bill Barnwell on ESPN.com, but he wrote a story about the weaknesses of every contender. Did you see that? And, you look at Philly. Philly looked like this, like it was, in my mind, at the beginning of the year, it was Niners and Philly and the Niners. Those were the two best teams in the conference. And then Philly obviously has flaws, right? With their back seven and now up front and Hurts and their offense is inconsistent. Sirianni's getting heckled. Their O-line doesn't look quite as good. All these things, their D-line's nothing compared to what it was last year.
And now A.J. Brown, arguably their best player on offense, goes down.
Right. So Philly doesn't look great. Rams are in kind of a rebuild year. They're not this is not a vintage Rams team. I mean, I'll say this. I'll give you $20 right now if you can name 4, and the Niners just played the Rams. Before today's game, if you could name 4 Ram defensive players, including Aaron Donald, I mean, it's the biggest no-name defense of all time. So you get the Rams, who are in a rebuild, and defensively they're like, Detroit's coming, but Detroit's pass defense is like 26th in the NFL. I mean, it's not a great pass defense. They lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. They lost Emmanuel Mosley. Tampa.
I thought Chauncey Gardner-Johnson
was
there today.
He's coming back.
He got a pick today.
Did he get? I mean, and he's coming back. So, I mean, that's good. But they still are. Mosley's done for the year. I just think like Detroit seems like a next year play to me. And then you got, Seattle didn't make it. Tampa is just, I don't know. They say Todd Bowles is going to be on the hot seat a year from now, going into next year. They are leaning on they got Baker Mayfield. I mean, Mike Evans has had a really good year, but they don't have a great running back. Rachaad White, they throw it to him a lot. Dallas, you can run the heck on Dallas. I mean, Buffalo gashed them. The Niners gashed them. Their run D is not great. So, I don't know. I mean, to me, if the 49ers get beat on the way to the Super Bowl, I think that's going to be hugely disappointing because they are the clear class of the NFC. Do you guys agree with that, or is that overstating it?
Absolutely, 100%. I've been saying all year, it feels like this is the year the Niners get to the Super Bowl, and obviously I'm hoping win the Super Bowl. And it's like, why am I so confident? Well, for one, there's talent everywhere, but also it's the quarterback, 13, Brock Purdy. He's been freaking awesome all year. We know, he had the rough game against the Ravens. Some of those picks, did feel a bit fluky, but he's just been so consistent all season long, getting this team touchdowns. That's the reason why I'm so confident. It's the talent, it's the defense, and it's 13 at quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, Purdy's been fantastic. And we probably should admit this. Purdy is part of the reason that we're not complaining about Jake Moody. Because if let's just say Purdy wasn't as good in the red zone and they were having to settle for field goals, based on what we've seen, I think it's pretty safe to say that Moody would have missed some percentage of those field goals in the red zone. And then we'd be sitting here going, uh-oh. Danny, what do you think? I mean, I kind of think there's the teams that scare me the most. If you said, if you really think, if you could take any of the teams in the playoffs right now and you could take, 2 or 3 of them and just take them out of the running, it would be Baltimore. Probably what's the score right now of Dolphins Bills?
7-7, 2 minutes to go in the half.
If Buffalo loses, they're out.
No, they're already in because of the loss of Jacksonville today.
Okay, so Buffalo's kind of hot right now. So if I could take out 3 teams, I would take out Baltimore, Cleveland, and then it's a debate between those 2 teams playing tonight. I don't fear Kansas City.
You're talking about just the AFC, or
just no period. I mean, I think all the best teams are in the AFC, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the Niners are going to rampage the NFC. I think they can beat Philly, Dallas, Tampa, Green Bay, Detroit, Rams. I don't think any of those NFC teams are going to beat the Niners. I'm more fearful of Baltimore, Cleveland, and either Kansas City, Miami, Buffalo. I just can't really decide which of those 3 are. Who would you say are the 3 scariest teams left in the postseason? If you could take them out and pave the easiest road for the Niners.
I'm taking out Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore.
I'm taking out, I'm probably taking out the Cowboys. Yeah, I know we've owned the Cowboys, and I'm not really scared of the Cowboys. That defense does have the ability to create turnovers and kind of capitalize on those turnovers. So just get them out of here just for the defensive purposes. And then that 3rd team, I'm going to go with Kansas City. I know Kansas City
just because of just the pedigree.
City of get Mahomes out of here. I would love to just dismiss him.
What about you, Danny? Who would be your 3 teams?
Well, Baltimore's 1.
Yeah.
2 would be probably, gosh, I'm thinking in that AFC.
Edward says Lions, Rams, Cowboys.
Well,
I don't know.
I was going to go thinking of Lions and Cowboys, and here's why I was saying Lions. Their offensive line, if the Cowboys can control the ball and the Lions against the Niners, if they can run the ball on the Niners, which has been their weakness, and keep the Niners offense off the field, and they've got weapons in, St. Brown, Montgomery, Gibbs. If they can move the ball and get a few scores off the Niners, and then you get that defensive line going with Hendrickson and I mean, I don't know. I think Detroit has to play its A+ game to beat the Niners, but they have the tools to do it. I don't think they would, because I think they're young and I think their playoff inexperience would get to them. But they have the ability, if they put it all together, to be the most dangerous team besides the Niners in the NFC, I think.
MF agrees with you. He says, I agree with Danny about Detroit. The one thing about Detroit, they play really hard. But I didn't see the Laporta injury. I was sitting next to people in the press box who said that Laporta could be done for the year, but he's not. He's not done for the year, huh?
We don't know yet.
I mean, he might.
I mean, he is an awesome.
Bone bruises are no joke. Like we've seen NBA players miss a whole season with Darrell Luter had a bone bruise in his knee. He missed months on end. Kendrick Nunn missed like a year and a half with a bone bruise. The knee bone bruises can be tricky.
No, you're right. RS says Baltimore, Cleveland, and Kansas City.
All AFC teams.
I mean, it could be any. I mean, I'll tell you who can make a run in the AFC. I don't think they get to the Super Bowl, but they have the ability to win a first round game and maybe upset somebody in the second round is Houston. D'Amico's got his guys believing, and with CJ Stroud playing the way he is, with Nico Collins, and
imagine if they hadn't lost Tank Dell.
I know they got weapons, and D'Amico knows playoff football. Okay, so defense, it's kind of like the NBA. The game's a little different in the playoffs, and D'Amico can get those guys going. I think I'm going to pick them against Cleveland in the wild card round game, even though
Really?
Cleveland's. I am. Yeah.
Are you a little biased because Cleveland got waxed today?
No, I didn't even think about Cleveland. I didn't even know what they did today. I'm just thinking Houston at home and Cleveland on the road is a different team, kind of like Dallas. Houston is young. They were They went 10-7 after predicted to win like 3 or 4 games this year. That's a team that is believing in itself, and they got a leader. CJ Stroud is a true leader. I watched that kid.
He's a great young kid.
Talked me into it. I think Flacco is going to kind of regress to who we think Flacco is at this point in his career. I know he's had some good games throwing for over 300 yards, and Amari Cooper is probably going to be back here. That being said, man, CJ Stroud has been playing lights out. Jimmy Ward, I don't know what Jimmy Ward's status is, but I know when he's been on the field for Houston, that defense has been a lot better. Yeah. Will Anderson does not look 100%. But you know what? The way CJ Stroud is playing, I think the Browns offense might struggle to put up a bunch of points. It's probably going to be a low-scoring game I could see in Houston, but I think I'm with Dan. I'm pulling for D'Amico. D'Amico's an easy guy to root for.
Yeah, and he's got his guys fired up.
2 last ones. We're only going to go a few more minutes. I think we're going to wrap up here in a few. But I do want to ask you guys a couple more. One is, okay, we've talked about the teams we fear, right? What's the factor? If the 49ers fall short, what's going to be the reason they fall short?
Turnovers.
They, that would be my vote. Would be Brock Purdy interceptions. I mean, now Brock Purdy's been awesome, but in their 4 losses, in the 4 losses that he was involved with, he had 9 interceptions in those 4 losses. To me, if you say, hey, if this happens, then that happens. If Brock Purdy takes care of the football. Now, I'm not saying he's got to become captain check down a la Alex Smith. I'm just saying if he doesn't turn it over in mass, I think the Niners win it all this year.
I agree.
Yeah,
but other people would say it's the kicker. Some people would say it's the offensive line. Some people would say it's the run defense. I'll say this, I'm assuming Eric Armstead's healthy. I don't know if you looked at those numbers, but without Eric Armstead, the Niners are like 24th in the NFL on EPA against run as far as the run D. They have not stopped the run worth a damn since Eric walked out. So to me, Eric's got to be there. There's no doubt. Greenlaw's got to be there. But I'm assuming they're there. My biggest concern, even though I trust Brock a lot, and I don't, I would just say to him, hey, look, against the better teams down the stretch here, it's great that you're fearless. It's great that you stay aggressive. But could you take really good care of the football? Because, between the Niners defense and Mitch Wishnowski's ability to pin teams inside the 20, I just think that I'd rather punt than take chances of turnovers. If Brock doesn't throw lots of picks, I think I don't know that they can be beaten. I think their defense and Wishnowski are really a dangerous combo. What would you guys say as far as the factor that if they don't win it all, it's going to be because of what?
Well, what I will add is I think the game script is going to be a little bit more run heavy come playoff time. We had seen Kyle kind of go to these pass heavy game scripts. I think he gets back to the fundamentals of his offense and running the rock, especially come playoff time. But I like the turnovers that Dan said, but the other two, and you touched on them quickly, it's the run defense. If a team can run the ball on us and, keep our offense off the field, and we know this defense has struggled with missed tackles at times. So I'm going with the run defense, but it's also, man, it's the kicker. It's the kicker. Yeah. 17 games, and I still don't know how reliable Jake Moody is as a kicker. He's only made 21 kicks in 17
Unfortunately,
games.
he never got the opportunity all year to kick a game winner, except the one time,
Cleveland.
and he missed. He never got a chance at redemption.
And there's a lot of pressure in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So Danny, you would say turnovers, huh?
I think turnovers, and then the second would be the if Armstead's not 100%. And I really fear, I don't fear it against Dallas. I don't think they have a good running game. It's more Detroit with Montgomery and Gibbs in their offensive line. They have the ability to have ball control and short passing to Amon-Ra St. Brown to get the first down. And if Laporta happens to be healthy and playing, Detroit is a team that, like I said, they have to play their A game, I believe, to beat the Niners. And they don't, and they'd have to do it in Santa Clara, which has not proven to be Jared Goff's, strength, winning outdoors on the road. But, I just would hate to see if they controlled the ball on the ground, that would put the Niners in a possession type game. You don't want to be in a possession type game because the Niners we haven't seen them do really well when it's a game of, coming down to one possession. They're either way out in front or, we haven't seen them really do well coming from behind.
No, I could give you the stats. I mean, they're really ugly as far as what's the Niners record when they trail in the fourth quarter under Kyle Shanahan. And you guys are well aware of those stats. A couple more supers here, and then I got one I want to finish with. Roberto Davis is apparently contractually Kyle gets to pick in the third round.
That'd be funny is, Niners, they go up to the podium. Niners have traded their third round pick to Cleveland for their right to their seventh round pick in 2025, 26, and 27. And they just keep trading thirds for sevens. Man,
well, maybe if the Niners win the Super Bowl, they'll have the last pick of the third round. They can just let the clock run out and pick in the fourth round.
There we go.
They bypass the third round out of principle. David Butler says Kinlaw equals abomination. Sick to my stomach watching him. What do you guys think of Kinlaw today? I thought he had a sack, or he definitely tackled Wentz on that one where Wentz ran 1 yard maybe.
I thought Kinlaw's been a pleasant surprise this year. In previous years, he was a bust. He wasn't playing much due to the knee, but this year I thought he's had a positive impact. Today, I know he was out there a bunch along with Kevin Givens, and then I did see at the end, Sebastian Joseph Day kind of check in, but I thought Kinlaw was solid. I didn't see him getting blown off the ball today.
What did you think of Sebastian Joseph Day?
I thought he held up. I didn't see him till like the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
but
he played in a totally different scheme. He's been in a 2-gap scheme, and now he's in a 1-gap penetrate, get up the field scheme. That's a totally different mindset for a defensive lineman. But I asked Kinlaw about him on Thursday, and he said, "Man, the guy's so explosive that he's not going to have any problem adjusting." That's what Javon thought when he's watched him for the last couple of weeks in practice. David Butler drops this one. He says, lack of depth. It's bad. I don't know about that.
Funny, Larry. I'm thinking you're talking to Kinlaw about, Day, and any player you talk to about another guy, it'd be kind of funny. Yeah, he sucks. He's really bad. He can't.
Could you imagine? He's a total zero.
Yeah, he has no.
Don't
leverage.
say it because he's only 4 lockers down.
No.
The guy, we call him Casper the Ghost because he disappears on game day.
Nobody's ever. You're always going to get these glowing reports of your teammates.
It would be awesome if guys truly buried each other. Yeah, I'm playing my ass off out here, but this guy's a joke. Yeah, that would be something. You're right. You got to take it worth a grain of salt. Wesley Brooks says lines for next week. What do you think, Larry? Cowboys 7, Eagles 1.5, Lions 3.5, Browns 1.5. Browns are. So who are the matchups again? Give me the matchups, Danny.
Okay, you got Cowboys, Packers in Dallas. You got
Eagles, I like Dallas.
Eagles at Tampa. And then
I'll take the 1.5 in the Tampa Bay Bucks there.
All right. And then you got the Browns at Houston.
I'm going Browns. I like the Browns.
The other games are still being, we're waiting to see what happens. Looks like Kansas City will be the 3 seed no matter what. So they'll take on either Buffalo if Buffalo loses tonight, or Miami, I guess. I think
on the road.
I think at Kansas City. I think the winner of tonight's game gets the 2 seed and the loser gets the 6.
And what's the score? You said 7-7.
Let me take a look now. It was
it says Lions by 3.5. That's over the Rams.
Yeah.
I'll take the Rams in the 3.5.
Yeah, it's 14-7 Dolphins. 14-7 Dolphins with 25 seconds to go in the half.
Last one I want to debate with you guys in the final 10 minutes before we check out. We're only going to go an hour 30. We're an hour 21 right now. So we only got 9 minutes left. But I do want to get your guys' thoughts on this, because this is the major conversation leading into this week, and it's going to continue to be a conversation for the next week, and that is rest versus rust. Okay, you guys heard Steve Young. He went on CamBR and basically said he's very concerned. He's very concerned about Brock Purdy being rusty. Brock Purdy, if the Niners wind up playing on the Sunday, he will be off from New Year's Eve. He played on New Year's Eve day, and he may not play until January the 21st from December. So he's off between December 31st and January 21st, potentially. Steve Young says he's concerned about the rust for Purdy. I have thoughts on it as well. Obviously, Shanahan has thoughts. We all respect Steve Young, Kyle as well. John Lynch, heard him on the radio. He said, hey, look, I respect the hell out of Steve Young, and they have reasons for why they sat Brock Purdy. Purdy's said, hey, look, guys, I'm not going to be laying around on the couch. I'm going to be practicing. I don't know if you guys knew this, but this week going into this Rams game, Purdy and Darnold shared first-team reps at practice. So where are you with this thing? Are you, we can be deferential and polite to everybody, but at the end of the day, everybody can't be right. Either Shanahan's right and the Niners are smart to rest Brock Purdy, or Steve Young's right and the Niners are taking a big risk by showing up in the playoffs with a rusty Brock Purdy. What do you guys think? What side are you on the rest versus rust debate?
I'll say this. I think the Niners are keeping it quiet, and I think had he not had the stinger and then aggravated it, I think he might have played a series or two today. I think the fact that he had that stinger aggravated, they wanted to just give it some rest and not have it possibility of it re-aggravated again today. I think was a key why he sat out.
I agree, Dan. And I do think this was the right move. Sitting Brock Purdy. Let's get him back to 100%. He had the stingers. Brock, they're going to ease him in to this first playoff game. Whoever the matchup is, they're going to try to run the rock, get him some easy throws to get into a rhythm. And then eventually you're going to turn Brock loose. And I have a lot of confidence in Brock Purdy as a playmaker. I always say he gives you those 2 or 3 plays outside of structure, but most of the time he's playing within the structure of the offense, and he executes it so well. I'm really not that concerned. Respect Steve Young, but I'm not concerned about it.
Yeah, and if Steve were sitting here, I would say, Steve, I respect the hell out of you. And your reality and Brock's reality may not be one and the same. Steve Young, was maybe the kind of quarterback that absolutely needed to have, regular reps to maintain a level of sharpness. I'm not sure if Purdy's the same animal. The other thing I would say is they're dramatically different stages of their career. When I'm sure Steve is referring to his Niner years, by that point, Steve Young was 31, 32, 33. You know what I'm saying? Brock Purdy essentially is a rookie. I looked at his Iowa State stats this week. The most games the guy's ever played in a season are 13. Well, if you take the regular season and the preseason, he's already played 18. And if you have him play in the playoffs and they make it to the Super Bowl, he will have played 21 games. 21 games is a lot more than 13 games. Then you had mix in the offseason elbow surgery. And then I'll bring up the same point that, because I think it's a salient point that Lynch brought up, which is, okay, what examples do we have of Brock coming off of bye weeks? Well, he didn't play in the final preseason game. And I thought he looked really, really good and sharp against the Steelers on the road at Heinz Field in week 1.
Here's his stats against Pittsburgh. 19 of 29, 220 yards, 7.6 average, two TDs, no picks, quarterback rating of QBR of 93.7 and a rating of 111.3. After not playing much at all in the preseason and pretty much missing all of OTAs. And, you know, I think it's a whole different thing we're talking about.
The other thing is, look at the other game that he came off the bye. It was the Jacksonville game. And Danny, do you have his numbers against Jacksonville? I mean, he was really good in that game. And not only that, his arm strength in the Jacksonville game looked really good. That was the one where he hit Kittle down the field on the wheel route against Devin Lloyd to begin the third quarter. And he led him. Not only did he throw it 40 yards down the field, he led him.
Yeah.
And I just think the arm strength. And then I looked at Purdy's pass attempts, and the most pass attempts he's ever had is like 475, and he's at like 460 right now. So he's going to have more games played than he's ever had in his career. He already has. He's going to have more pass attempts by the end of the year than he's ever had before. He's coming off of elbow surgery. The way he plays, it's like, I guess my bottom line on it would be this. It's all about what can you live with. And if it came right down to it, I can live with Brock Purdy against whatever team in the divisional round being a little rusty in the first or second series, more than I could live with. They played him today against the Rams, and he got destroyed by, on a sack and, hurt himself and is out, or hurt himself and he's not quite moving at the same speed. Because, I mean, escapability is a big part of his value proposition.
Think about it this way, too. You mentioned how many passes he's thrown compared to his all-time, probably in college at Iowa State. And we saw his arm strength after the bye. We all noticed it. It looked stronger. Like some of the passes had a little more zip on balls that were, thrown over the middle.
That ball he threw to Ayuk last week, he ripped that thing.
Yeah. So you give him a little more rest, that arm gets stronger. I mean, here's what he came off of the bye against Jacksonville. He was 19 of 26, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. A rating of 148.9. Isn't 156 perfect or something like that? Or
pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
I mean, we've had a couple of examples of that. Yes, this is an extra week than a regular bye. This is 2 weeks off instead of 1. But like he said, he's practicing. He's going to be throwing the ball. I think the more you give a guy at the end of the year like that, his arm, considering the fact that he had the stinger, it came back, got it again. I'm telling you, you don't want to get a stinger in the playoffs and have that thing re-aggravated, because you're going to stick it out, but you're not going to be 100%. You want, like Eric said, you want your guy to be at 100% if possible. That's my take.
Hey, just to update you about this game that's going on. Before half, the Bills had the ball, drove it all the way down the field, could have kicked a field goal. I think there was 7 or 8 seconds left on the clock. They're at the 10-yard line. Josh Allen throws it, no timeouts, throws it short of the end zone. Time expires. Player got tackled at the 1. Bills got no points out of it right before half. They're down 14-7.
That's
the
unreal. 1 yard line?
He got tackled a yard short of the end zone.
The winner of that game gets the AFC East.
Yes.
Correct. And the 2 seed.
Wow. I'll say this. Who do you fear more, the Buffalo or Miami? Because if you had asked me this 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I would have said Miami for sure.
Yeah.
But they lost Jalen Phillips. They've lost
Chubb.
Bradley Chubb. You lose your edge rushers. Your defense doesn't have
Waddle on offense.
Is he out for
you
the
guys
year?
remember when Buffalo
Not
came to Levi Stadium? It was like 2 or 3 years ago. But Josh Allen came here and absolutely carved up that defense. Like he was a surgeon. It was almost like when you see Stafford with the quick passing game. Josh Allen came to Levi Stadium 2 or 3 years ago and just shredded that defense. So yeah, I fear the Bills more than
I think I fear the Bills because of Josh Allen. He's not only can throw, he's mobile, and he's physical. He's tough to bring down. And the thing about Allen that scares me is when he takes off running, if he decides to pass it, he can throw the Niner DBs just fall off coverage, and Allen will just take the risk and try threading it. A little bit like Mahomes, but I think with the weapons that Buffalo has, they got Kincaid, they got Diggs, they got Gabe Davis on the deep. Much better. I think the weapons for Kansas City are not nearly as great. Look at the points scored. Kansas City has only scored like 371 points all year long. Dallas ended up the top scorer in the league with 504, and the Niners were like 480-ish, something like that. I mean, that's a lot of points that Kansas City left on the board, didn't score this year for what they've been known for.
They have no weapons.
Yeah, they have no weapons. The
other thing is Kansas City's going to have to go on the road. I mean, they've never gone on the road with Mahomes and since Mahomes has been there,
they get one home game.
No. Then they got to venture out on the road.
Right.
Wesley Brooks says Josh Allen. That was the COVID game in Arizona.
Remember the Niners had to play some home games in Arizona.
That's right.
So okay, thank you for that correction, Wesley. But Josh Allen absolutely eviscerated the defense that game. I remember I came out of that thinking Josh Allen is a different animal.
We're going to wrap it right here. By the way, is that correct what somebody texted or somebody chatted that the Dodgers have signed Teoscar Hernandez?
Yep, I was just going to mention that.
What the heck?
Yeah.
What in the hell?
They're 1-year deal, $23 million. It's funny.
Rich just keep getting richer and richer.
Is he coming off a career year? Because I don't remember Teoscar Hernandez being some.
He can hit the ball off
that
big time
good.
Power.
He'd
be the most powerful hitter in the Giants lineup.
Yeah, it's funny because Farhan. I put a tweet out today. Sadly, two organizations going completely opposite direction. Andrew Friedman and the Dodgers not satisfied, and Farhan comes out 2 days ago after the Robbie Ray trade and says, and Mitch Haniger, we feel pretty good about our outfield. We're now looking to maybe add some defense on the infield.
Well, he did say that they could add another outfielder.
They could. I mean, hopefully he's learned a little bit. He's under promising, and he's learned.
He over promises and under delivers
constantly.
I'll tell you, that is the one thing is, I love baseball. I love all the sports, but to me, in basketball, the Warriors can compete with the Lakers. In football, the Niners can compete with the Rams. In baseball, it's like the Giants cannot compete with the Dodgers.
They're okay with it.
And it's depressing.
With it.
It's sad,
but it is sad, and it's like it makes the sport less enjoyable. Because baseball feels like a stacked card game, and the teams that have it stacked in their favor have huge advantages over the teams that don't have the advantages. It's just,
that being said, when the Giants won it in 10, 12, and 14, it never felt like they had the best roster.
No, but they had great pitching, and they had great catcher, Hall of Fame manager.
They had better rosters than what the Giants do right now.
Oh, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys, tell us a little bit about your channels. Bay Area Baller 18. Everybody who hasn't followed Bay Area Baller should right now. Baller, when do you go live next? And tell people about your channel and what kind of content you put on there.
Hey, everyone watching, please hit that subscribe. Bay Area Baller 18. I'm live tomorrow night. I'm live every Monday with my boys, 3 of my buddies. We got the Straight Out of the Bay show. So we'll be recapping this game, going further in depth. But check it out. We're talking all the Bay Area sports, not mostly Niners, but we're mixing in some Warriors and, Giants. I'm known to put on the Giants in the background and kind of keep my tabs on them. So, hey, we're almost to 2,000 subs. So I appreciate all you guys. Come on by, hit that sub, fellas.
What do you make of all the people saying fire Kerr?
Not yet. No, we got to play this year out. That's too disrespectful. He's done too much for this organization to fire him mid-season. Let's see how this thing plays out. And, if this team misses the playoffs, then I'll talk about it in the off season.
Sounds good. Baller, have a great Sunday, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Much love, Bay Area Baller. Dan Cochimilio, the host of NorCal Sports Network. And then there were 2. Danny, you know what you need more than anything? You need a ring light.
I need a ring light, huh?
Yeah, you're sitting in relative darkness.
Let's see. I have a light somewhere.
Do you?
I do. I can.
I mean, I'm not saying that.
How's that?
That's kind of a little scary, but it's a little bit better. Yeah, but you need a brighter light. You need to bring Dan Cochimilio's pearly blue eyes out there. But Danny, go ahead. Tell people about NorCal Sports Network. I know you do a lot of baseball. Hopefully, you're doing Warriors, you're doing Giants, you're doing Niners. It's all Bay Area sports. But when do you go live next? And what do you got cooking on the channel this week?
Yeah, we're going to go live again tomorrow night, and we'll be coming on 8:00 Pacific. We'll be covering a lot of Giants right now. The shows are, we get in depth with them, but we also have a little fun on the show because it's a little tough to talk an hour and a half, 2 hours of Giants baseball. So we bring in a little comedy here and there, and try and
I thought the Giants provided the comedy.
Yeah, they do. They provide the comedy. They do. It's great material. Farhan. That's who joins us. Farhan provides us with great material.
Did you see his presser, by the way, that he did on YouTube?
I did see it. Yeah.
I watched it the other day, right? 24 minutes.
I mean, he was like right up in the screen there, man.
He's right up in the screen, and everybody who greets him is like acting like he's like, the reigning executive of the year.
I know.
It is my distinct Farhan, thank you. And it is my distinct pleasure to be here with you. As it's like, why are you kissing this guy's ass? Let him make a move that actually works before. Yeah. It is really a pleasure, Farhan, to have this acquaintance and to, it's like, Jesus.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Shanahan doesn't get that kind of treatment.
Right.
They've been in 3 of the last 4 NFC championship games.
It's unbelievable. We do talk Warriors, too, and Niners, of course. We've got the cast of guys that join us, and Eric and Los and Bora. And sometimes we, have some other different guys come in. But, I'll say this about Kerr. I don't think you have to fire Kerr. I think at the end of this season, it would not shock me. I'm not predicting and saying it's going to happen, but it would not shock me if Kerr just says,
I've had it.
I've had enough, and I'm going to step aside another role in the organization in Kenny Atkinson, because Kenny Atkinson took a job. Was it Charlotte a year ago, and then he took it and then he backed away, and it's like, does he have some kind of agreement with Kerr? Like, hey, hang on.
That he's going to be he's going to inherit the gig.
That's my gut.
All righty. Danny, good stuff, man. Always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Larry.
There you go. The great Dan Cochimilio. And then there was one. All right. That's going to do it for us. I'd like to shout out our sponsors one last time. We're brought to you. Our title sponsor of the Krueg Show is Pig and a Pickle. Go check them out. They're in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. And I always say that. People are like, well, what do you mean until they run out? Well, a lot of restaurants, they don't run out, but a true barbecue place that has real barbecue, they do run out. And when they run out, they smoke the brisket for 15 hours. So if they run out of brisket, they're out of brisket. So there you go. And check them out. Great barbecue. You're going to love it. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Tell them the Krueg sent you. Get the brisket chili, the pulled pork, the house-made sausages. It's all great. Thanks to New York style Italian sausage as well. They've been with me since the start. Had somebody today, in fact, sent me a picture of them at the supermarket with New York style Italian sausage and Krueg. Thanks for the recommendation. So I forwarded that on to the owner of New York style Italian sausage. I'm sure he was happy to see that. Thanks to Underdog Fantasy and Mojo Fantasy. Check that link in the description. Use the promo code Krueg, Krueg, and they'll match you up to your first $100. And thanks to Marin Autoglass. Bottom of the screen throughout the show, you'll see Marin Autoglass. MarinAutoglass.com, 415-883-3030. Saeed, the owner of Marin Autoglass, great guy, and he's been sponsoring the show for the last year, and we appreciate him very, very much. We've got a new sponsor coming up in the next couple of weeks that we'll tell you about. Lots of new exciting things on the channel. Guys, I think this is the week I'm going to contact Steve Young and see if we can get Steve on the channel later this week. I think as soon as this show's over, I'm going to text Steve an invite. I'd love to have Steve on. We traded some texts maybe a month ago or so, and he said, hey, he'd love to help. He'd love to come on. So, this being the bye week, I think this would be a great opportunity to get Steve on. So I'm going to send him a text tonight and see if we can get him on the show sometime this week. I'm looking forward to that conversation. Love Steve Young and everything that he contributes. And then, of course, tomorrow is Monday, so bright and early at 8 a.m., I'll be on with Damon Bruce at 8 a.m. with Wake Up, and we'll talk about this game and talk a little bit about the NFL. Tomorrow's Black Monday in the NFL. Lots of people are probably going to get fired, sadly. And there'll be lots of job openings and all kinds of talk. Tomorrow's going to be an absolute action-packed day for NFL football. No games, but lots and lots to talk about. So that coming up tomorrow at 8 a.m. Also tomorrow at roughly 4 o'clock, Grant Cohn and I do a co-stream on both of our channels. I'm eager to see what Grant thought of this game today. So that's coming up tomorrow. And then Wednesday night, Kevin and I do our father-son call-in show. We really enjoy that. Thursday night, it should be the reunited of me, Vish, and Jesse for the big show. And then Friday at 8 a.m., Damon's back. Chase Senior's in the house. We'll have a lot to talk about on Friday, and then Saturday the coach will be in the house as well. So we're hoping to squeeze Steve Young in there somehow, and we'll see if this is a good week for him or not. But thanks to all you guys. Thanks to everybody who provided the super chats. Thanks to everybody who was in the chat tonight. It's kind of a weird game. It's like I made a list before the game of what would make today's game a success. And here was my list. Avoid injuries. Well, outside of Cleveland Farrell, and it doesn't sound like that's too serious. We'll find out tomorrow. It sounds like the Niners did a pretty good job of avoiding injuries. Don't give away any big-time secrets. Have a vanilla game plan because you may play the Rams on the 21st of January. I mean, they could be back here. And I think will be. So, you can check that box. Win the game. Try to keep positive momentum going. Well, obviously, they didn't win the game. So that one wasn't checked. Take a look at some young players. I mentioned, Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason, Ronnie Bell, Robert Beal, D. Winters, Samuel Womack, Darrell Luter, Braden Willis, Taylor Hawkins. And we saw some good things. Hawkins had a pick. Beal had a sack, his first in the NFL. J.P. Mason ran for 6 yards a carry. So there were a lot of good things there. And for Sam Darnold, I put down avoid turnovers. And isn't it ironic that Sam Darnold, who has, in 65 career games, now 66, he has 56 career interceptions and 36 fumbles. And now he's got 37 fumbles because he fumbled the last play of the game. And it was just enough to get the Niners beat. So I don't put the loss on Sam, but, so basically, they did a decent job. I would say it was about 50-50. They were, obviously they didn't win the game, and Sam did turn it over. But they had kind of a vanilla game plan. They, for the most part, avoided injuries. So Was it a success? Was it a failure? You know, I mean, it's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right? It was no slam dunk in any direction, but the real key was they got through a football game. They didn't give away the plan for the playoffs. You know, they didn't hurt their chances of winning the Super Bowl with any crushing injuries that are going to take them out of the mix. And I think overall, we have to look at that as an overwhelming positive, because I think it was. All right, that is going to do it for us. Thanks to all of you guys. Thanks to our sponsors. Have a great night, everybody. And thanks for supporting The Krueg Show on YouTube.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly